I was thinking too. That's on. Check one, check one. Mind? Oh. So. I want a hot mic moment.
In this one, it turns red, which means it's on. So opposite. All right, we will call Committee of the Whole to order. We do have minutes. So I'll move to approve the minutes of the December 5th meeting without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. Okay, so our main item tonight is Resolution 2025-77 to appoint an applicant to the Ward 4 seat. We have 4 candidates here this evening to talk with us. And I'll just say that I see 3 of them so far. And as I mentioned, you can either, when you come up, you can either sit or stand, whatever your preference is. We'll try to make it as comfortable as possible. I know it's kind of awkward to be looking up at us, but we do that so that we can be in the room with the cameras so we can record and folks can watch at home. Okay, so first up, we have Pixie Mallow. Am I saying that right? Mallow or Mallow? Mallow. Okay, so come on up, whichever place you'd like. So, welcome, and thanks for applying. We'll just go through a little bit here. So the Ward 4, you're applying for the Ward 4 council seat. This would be for the remainder of the term, so it'd be about 2 years on that remaining. We typically meet on Monday nights, so the first and third Monday are full council meetings, with the other Mondays being committee meetings. Typically could be as early as 5:30, can go until the business is done. But it could be on other nights as well. Council members estimate that they spend about 20 to 25 hours per week on council business. That could be, responding to constituents via email, meeting with folks, going out in the community, et cetera. But of course, some people spend more. So knowing all that, with that being said, do you feel like you'd be able to meet the obligations of the office?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so with that out of the way, let me get in here. So my first question that I usually ask everyone is just if you could tell us a little bit about how you've been engaged in the Lakewood community.
Yeah. So I haven't been here long, but it was the first town that I really felt home and welcome and safe. So I really love this place. And so my son does Lakewood soccer, so I've helped out with that a lot. I do help with Hunger Food Network, collecting food and giving it to the homeless. Yeah, outside of that, within Lakewood specifically, that's about it. So.
I forgot that we were going to give you an opportunity for an opening statement, and I skipped right past that.
I
apologize about that. I just realized right after I asked you that. So if you have an opening statement for us you'd like to give, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, thank you for having me here, and Lakewood Council and fellow applicants, and. Yeah, like I said, I haven't been in Lakewood long, but when I first got here, I've really felt so welcome and so at home and so safe. And I plan on being here a very long time, fingers crossed. And I just really felt like I wanted to give that back and fight for those that don't have a voice. That's something I've always been passionate about. And especially as a transgender person, and with everything going on recently, I've had a lot of friends that have gone into hiding, and social clubs that have reduced their activity and stuff for that. And I just want to be a person that is like no and steps forward and does something, I guess. And with Studio West closing, that one hurt a lot. That was a home for me, and that's where I first came out and slowly started coming out as who I am now. And with being a Lakewood City Council person for Ward 4, I really want to be a part of that conversation for that, to try to keep it in the LGBTQ community. Yeah, and then outside of that, I do have experience in multiple facets of life. I grew up in a town of 600 people in the middle of nowhere. On a farm, learning work ethic. I was in the military. I was a veteran, so I'm very intimate with working with government in that aspect. I was deployed overseas for about 1.5 years in the Middle East, and then I love to travel, and I've met all sorts of people internationally and within the United States, and I just love humans. I've always lived by the motto of if you give people the chance to let them show you kindness, they will. And I've always seen that and always try to put that foot forward. So, yeah, that's me. Oh, also, I brought baked goods. That's what I'm kind of known for. But it's not a bribe. They're just there. So
they're for everyone, right?
Yes,
they're for members of the public here as well. Yes, of course. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move next to Vice President Baker.
Thank you so much for coming and putting yourself out there to everyone. One thing so every time, and colleagues have to move on, and that's life, but I always lament to my colleagues up here that, this is the hardest decisions we make. But you would have 2 years, so if you were appointed this term, you'd have 2 years before the term was up. So what do you think you could accomplish in 2 years? And then related to that, and it may be related to this, is like, what do you think the biggest issue in Ward 4 is, and do you think you could help with that in that 2 years?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I bring up my notes app because that one I'm very passionate about, and I have a list. So trying to memorize and keep them all straight, I was like, I need a list for that. One of the ones, though, I do know that I could probably accomplish within the 2 years is somehow updating the communication or just the way it's handled with like people submitting for speed bumps, because I have submitted for that multiple times. I've never even heard a peep from it. Not even like, hey, we've received your thingy and we'll reach out to you as soon as we can. So it was just pure silence on that. And another one that I know I can accomplish within the 2 years is for the food festivals. At Madison Park, I've been there a few times for that one. And it's in the summer, you know, it's just given, but it's extremely hot and there's no shade, and a lot of people struggle for shade, and we're all trying to huddle underneath this one tree. So we could do cooling stations, water stations, you know, tents for shade, something along those lines, especially with a lot of people like have dogs, little kids, and stuff like that, and it's just too hot. And then obviously within the 2 years, because a lot of LGBT nonprofits and of the such are scrambling really quick to try to talk about Studio West. And that's something that's going to happen like really quick. So being a part of that conversation and discussing alternatives. I keep commenting on every time I see it that Twist should take it over, because they would be very well at taking it over, and it would be a great expansion for them. But that's just a discussion we would have with all the groups and conduct the best plan for that, and whether or not that's something they would even want to do. Another one that I'm thinking about that I could do is like a social media series about the resources within Lakewood, because it's like even me, like an outside person coming in, it's hard to see where all the resources are and get on the website and everything. We could even make like a scavenger hunt, you know, like if you go to this resource, or if you go to this web page, or you go to this, well, here's a little voucher or something, to like just to get engagement with the resources within Lakewood and get more people information about them, because you don't know if something pertains to you, or if there's even a resource for it if something is going on in your life. So that is something that we could do within the 2 years. And yeah, I'll stop there because I could go on forever. But
That's a long list. That's
yeah, I know.
got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Bullock, do you want to go next?
Pardon me. Thanks, Madam Chair. Pixie, welcome, and thank you for your service. By the way, you've put in a lot of years in public service in the form of U.S. military service, so I want to acknowledge that, as well as a lot of your excellent business experience. So for me, I want to talk about neighborhood level needs and issues in Ward 4, which is something in particular because all 7 of us represent the city, but the ward council person tends to get a lot of the day-to-day first, and then those of us who are at large play a little bit of a backup role, or we tag team. But often the ward council person will kind of be considered the lead, and so to me, understanding the neighborhood is important. So that's the preface to my question. And also, by the way, I hope this is like the Iran-Contra inquiry here, you know, where were you and what did you know? You know, this is, I think we're here, Madam Chair, because the audiovisual is the best here, so we can be most public access, but we want to be friendly here. So, so thank you for tolerating that. So could you identify some Ward 4 neighborhood level needs or issues and share your thoughts on possible improvements that you might want to pursue? Maybe you covered some of that already, but.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got a whole list, so I can go on different ones. But, and one of the things, because you mentioned small business, and seems passionate about something for you and something for me as well, so maybe we connect on that. So for Ward 4, I feel like small businesses, don't get as much of a spotlight as the rest of the wards in Lakewood. You know, like, because like the Ward 1, 2, or like even 3 are kind of like the heart of Lakewood. And then Ward 4 is kind of over here, near like far in West 117th. So like we could, something with social media, start a series on highlighting them, maybe even have put a task force together, or ideas about smaller festivals or events to have in Ward 4 instead of always having them in like 1 or 2 or in downtown, to highlight the businesses within Ward 4. And I know the food festival is in Madison Park, but yeah, we do have that beautiful park in Ward 4 that we could utilize a lot more for activities and festivals and bring more of those businesses. I did go to the night market, which was really beautiful, but that was a little bit a part of Ward 4 as well. So yeah, that, and yeah, I think that's one of the main ones. Oh, the other one I was going to talk about is kind of having like a coalition or a discussion with the environmental groups and the city of Lakewood about protecting the trees. I know we put out trees every year and we hand them out, but every spring I stand outside my door because I have, on my street specifically, there's beautiful big trees that provide beautiful shade in the summer, and it's just so gorgeous. But I know they have to come and trim them every year for electrical lines, which is understandable, but maybe they don't have to go as hard as they do and not remove as many trees as they do. So every year, every spring, I'm standing at my window, I'm like, please don't touch my tree. Please don't touch my tree. So yeah, I think that would be a very important one as well, because I feel like I'm probably not the only one that feels that way.
Thank you. And by the way, I love the K-pop Demon Hunter reference in your cover letter. I've got a kid who was mad about K-pop.
Yeah, a huge fan. Me and my son both.
Councilwoman Strubik?
Thank you. And I'd like to echo Councilman Bullock's thank yous for serving in our military. Greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
And while I'm very interested to hear about your plans for Lakewood, I really want to talk about you.
Okay.
Can you tell me why you want to be on City Council and what serving on City Council will do for you personally? And if you have any future plans for to stay in politics or to go anywhere with that?
Yeah. So being a part of, I wouldn't say government per se, but like part of the public and helping out the public in that way, and just volunteering has always been a part of my life ever since I was a kid. I was helping my mom with church events when I was a little kid. In middle school, I created the school's first recycling program. And when I was a senior, I went to Boise State, tried to run for governor, fell just short, but I found out later the person who won was buying the votes. So, yeah. So, but yeah, and then I've helped organize protests, and I've participated in a lot of them. There was a small handful of us that helped get the Doctors for Abortions ballot on the, or initiative on the ballot. With that, and it's just been ingrained in me and who I am, fighting for people who don't have a voice and fighting for those humans. And so it's always been something I've wanted to do, and like I said, I've had all that and help organizing, and I've been a part of the government, the military, and I was always thinking what would be the next step. And then I saw this open up, and I was like, that was the biggest sign from the universe you could ever get. And I was like, that's perfect. So, but yeah, if I don't get it, yeah, I will 100% continue to move forward and see what other avenues I can do, and bring myself forward for those.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
All right, how about Councilmember Hamilton Steiner?
Hi, Pixie.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. It was only last year that I was in the same position as you were in, interviewing for the council seat that I am now sitting in. So I understand exactly what you're feeling and how you're feeling in this process. So congratulations for taking a step through what you called as the door opening for you. So good luck. So the question that I have deals with, Ward 4. And it is and I'm sure you are aware of this, but it is one of the most economically, culturally, ethnically, racially, and socio-economically diverse wards of the city. Can you please share how you will manage and balance the diverse and sometimes competing needs and interests of the ward?
Yeah, I really love that question because, people look at me and they probably just see me as a beacon for one thing. And like, as I've stated, I've been in contact and been in many places in my life and many places in the world dealing with all sorts of people. And to me, like I said, if you enter the conversation with listening first to what they want, because most people just want to be heard. Even if they're like screaming at you, yelling at you, they're coming from a place of maybe they didn't get heard the first 4 times and now they've reached this point and they just want to be heard. So listening first and coming in with kindness, taking a pause so they feel like you've considered what they've just said, and then going from there and developing a plan, an answer, or developing an action plan together. That's what I've always done. I'm a gentle but firm management style. I always love to develop people into possibly taking my role or into helping them go to their next step. I always found that so beautiful to have that, because like I was a GM of a Wendy's, and I kind of developed a supervisor to like eventually take my spot as the GM, and they did. And it was just so beautiful, leaving that to know that they're there and they're moving forward in their life. So yeah, that's, I think, how I'd handle that. And yeah, and so like when I was overseas too, like even like communicating with people in different languages that you don't even speak or understand, there are basic things you can still come together and accomplish the goal at the end of the day. And that, and I was working on a airfield in Italy, and the main guys that would run the field were Italian. I didn't know Italian, but we'd just be like, and just communicate. And at the end of the day, we would go get food and call it, a hard day's work and the universal language of food. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, and last but not least, Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for being here. Similar to Angelina, it wasn't so long that I was on that side of this equation, so I know it takes a lot to put yourself out there. So thanks. You managed to kind of touch on both my question and my backup question, so I'll shift a little bit. You talked about management style. Can you talk about how you interact with coworkers? What does that look like? What kind of, how do you go about trying to like build consensus or solve problems or things like that?
Yeah. So that one I love to answer because I have a very, very recent explanation of that. So at my work, I work for PNC, and I work in their back office, and I just got put on a project for revamping this program that they're using for currently, because the old system is going to get decommissioned. And so we're just in this group together, and we're trying to figure this out, and there's this miscommunication happening, and this team is, well, this is what we think we should do, and this team is like, well, this is how we use it, and we use it different than you. So again, I think it just comes back to, like, there's all this, for lack of a better term, like clucking going on, and like we're not really getting anywhere, right? So someone has to step in with that, again, gentle but firmness, be like, okay, so I hear you, I hear you. What do you guys think of this? This is an option. And would that help both of you come to the conclusion that would work best for both of you? And then put it in their hands, and they can come back and say, yeah, we agree with that. Or no, we don't at all, and let's go back to the drawing board. So, but at least someone's taken the step forward to, like, let's have this in a production conversation and not just a conversation to have a conversation.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We have just a little bit of time. I wondered if there's anything else, I'll let you do your closing statement in a moment too, but if there's anything else you want to highlight in terms of your skills or experience or other things that you feel like you could bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I covered most of it, but like I said, I have been intimate with working in government. In high school too, like we went to state for parliamentary procedure. I love parliamentary procedure, so, you know, I'd be a little rusty, but I would understand what's going on. With that as well, and just advocating for people that don't have a voice as well is something I'm extremely passionate about. I've had a friend who was trans commit suicide. I've had a couple of friends in the military as well that were very dear to me, and I just want to advocate for them as well. So I just want to say that. I know people, like I said, people look at me and probably think I'm just a beacon for one thing, but if they have a conversation with me, they'll find out that I've been many things and have seen many things, and I will understand where you're coming from. So.
Thank you. I don't know if you had a chance to look, but if you're not successful with the appointment, would you be interested in serving in any other boards or commissions for the city?
Yes, I would.
Do you have any particular ones in mind? It's okay if not.
Off the top of my head, you know, LGBTQ, anti-racism task force, environmentalism. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Whenever you're ready, council members, anyone else have any follow-up questions? No? Okay. Whenever you're ready, if you want to do your closing statement.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for having me. And this has been a great honor to speak with all of you and meeting all of you fellow applicants as well. And I just love Lakewood, and my son loves it, and he'll high probability of him going to Lakewood High School as well. So, you know, I want to be a big advocate for that education system as well. And I'll just say it because it wasn't mentioned, surprisingly, affordability. So affordable housing, you know. Somehow I didn't mention that till now. That's interesting. But yeah, in advocating for that as well, and other smaller but bigger ticket items. Nothing's too big, nothing's too small. Everything matters to everyone. You know, even, you know, it may seem small, like I said, like, you know, the tree or the speed bumps, all the way up to advocating for LGBTQ people, veterans, or anyone else, and everything that matters to them matters to me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And you're welcome to stay, or you can go. It won't affect the decision at all. So,
All right,
thanks.
I'll stay.
Leave the goodies behind.
Yes, but leave the goodies. Yes. Well done. All right. So next we have Jason Frederick. Jason, we're a little ahead of schedule, so if you want to sit for 4 minutes, you can, or you can come on.
No, let's get this rolling.
All right,
Come on,
let's
people
do
have
it.
places
Okay.
to be. Hello to the clerical staff. Hello to council.
Hello.
Did
Welcome.
you want to go first? Do you go first, or do I go first?
I do my little spiel about the, would you like to do your opening statement first? Why don't we do that, since it's an opening statement?
I only want to say briefly, thank you so very much for having me out here. This process, I think, is fantastic. I feel very privileged to have been invited down in such great company of the other applicants, but also, you know, public comment is usually limited to 5 minutes, and to get 30 minutes in front of the legislative body of the town that you live in is not lost on me on how special that is. So I feel extremely lucky to be standing here right now. So that's really all I have to say.
Well, thank you, and we really do appreciate putting yourself out there and applying, and to everyone to do that. As mentioned, 4 of us up here were originally appointees, so we know what it's like to go through this. So
It's intimidating.
yeah,
I'm intimidated.
yeah. But we'll try to be friendly and encouraging. Okay, so you heard my spiel a little bit. So, you know, council meets on Monday nights, typically. First and third Mondays are full council meetings. We have committee meetings, usually the same night as that, often the other Mondays, sometimes additional days. Council members estimate they spend 20 to 25 hours a week on council business. Some of us more, some people might be less. Given all of that, do you feel like you'd be able to meet the obligations of the office?
Yes, I do. I've given it quite a bit of thought. And yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay.
I'd like to cut out a little more time, actually, if I possibly could, try to eke out more time on the weekends to engage with, you know, the constituents were I given a chance to become the representative.
Awesome. Yeah, it'll take as many hours as you give it. So.
That's kind of the feeling that I was getting.
Yeah, yeah.
What can I swing? I was running it by the family.
Yep. Okay, so my question that I usually start with is if you can tell us a little bit about your engagement with the Lakewood community.
Oh, I've been volunteering at the city on a couple different boards and commissions for a while. Last, I guess, 3-4 years now. I've just been trying to learn everything I possibly can about Lakewood for myself, also for my kids, to sort of explain to them how things work. I had to figure out how they worked first. So I was very lucky that I was invited to be part of the Community Relations Advisory Commission. That was via Councilperson Rader, and that was been a fantastic experience. I'm still on that board. I was just appointed, which you know because you appointed me. And the Welcome to Lakewood event, we've got to start getting going again, and we've got to get the diversity potluck going again. I love those events. I get to talk to hundreds of people who live in this town, and that's really my favorite part about being on the Community Relations Advisory Commission. I wish we could do more, frankly, and make more recommendations to you folks, but that's another story. I'm also volunteering on the Public Art Advisory Board, which I'm the vice chair of. We've just come off our the most successful project that I was a part of, which was the traffic boxes, like, you know, zhuzhing those up. And I think we're getting more money to do more of those, which is extremely exciting. Again, I expected there'd be some sort of pushback or somebody who thought that was a bad idea or thought something was ugly. As far as I know, it's been 100% thumbs up and gold stars, so I'm really proud of that. I was recently been appointed to the Anti-Racism Task Force, and I've only been to 2 meetings, but I'm trying to get up to speed on all the challenges and complications that they are facing as they try to, you know, accomplish their, you know, mandate. I also, just kind of on a whim, I joined the Citizens Police Academy, of which I am a graduate, which was fascinating. Did you know that there's a firing range downstairs? A lot of people don't know that. It's pretty wicked. I didn't get to use it. I don't own any guns, but they got some stuff down there, 30-06. Anyway, but also, you know, I got to see the bomb squad. I got to see the drones. I got to meet Attila, the dog. Officer Ortiz is rad. Sheriff Fisher, not sheriff, Chief Fisher, rather. Pardon me. Was a very interesting individual. Great conversationalist. Fan of Dewey's Pizza, as I am as well. So, you know, these are the people in your neighborhood, kind of stuff. And short of that, you know, volunteering with the kids' sports and just trying to pitch in wherever I can. Yeah, that's about it. That's the only, in any sort of official capacity, those are the main ones.
It can be official or unofficial, but just generally engaged. So that was a good answer.
I try to walk everywhere and say hi to people as I see them on the street.
That's
pet dogs.
right.
I literally. Anyway.
Yep, great.
Now I'm rambling. And I promised I wouldn't ramble.
You're doing great.
Oh, thanks.
All right, Vice President Baker.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for putting yourself out here. You know, as President Keppel mentioned, I was there once as well. Seems like a long time ago, 4 years ago. And also, being a youth coach is a lot of work. So I
never became an actual coach. I would just show up at practices and get hit with baseballs and run around and try to fix stuff. I just kind of pitched in wherever I could. I mean, there's a lot of people who know a lot more about baseball than I did. I just wanted to, you know, be an extra pair of hands.
That is very helpful. So don't minimize that. But I'll ask you a similar question as I'll ask most or everyone who comes up. Is that, you know, when I was appointed, you get 2 years, less than 2 years, actually about 20 months to kind of hit the ground running and figure out what you can do, what you can try to accomplish in that time before you would either have to seek re-election or not. So what, you know, kind of how would you spend that 22 months, and what are some issues you think that are unique to Ward 4 that you could tackle? And they might be unique to the city generally or unique to Ward 4, so I'm just curious as to how you view that.
Yeah, when I saw that you were going to ask me about my visions for Lakewood, I started blue skying it, like what are the big things? The small things, which are kind of big in a way as well, are in Ward 4 specifically, there seems to be a lot of division. I mean, diversity is the word we use broadly for it, but people seem to be categorized here or there or in some other category and not seeing each other as all Lakewoodites. So I would in the short term, in 2 years, I probably could put together either listening sessions or town halls. I mean, Dan O'Malley used to do it. I think Cindy has done it. Cindy Marks did it a couple times. I may have missed them, but getting people together to talk about their experiences in Ward 4. I live on a street with a lot of MAGA people who their big complaint is that they're not being listened to, which I disagree with, but maybe having some sort of forum where they could come yell at me instead of you might be a good thing. That might be a way to get to some sort of understanding of why on earth they would support the current administration in Washington, which I genuinely do not understand. But some people are do or die for it, and they're my neighbors, and they're good neighbors. You know, they mow their lawns, they take in their garbage, they turn the music off at 9:30. So, you know, how do you get people together that don't mix naturally? You have to find common ground. And I think about this a lot, actually. How do you find common ground between people who don't genuinely don't think that they have anything in common with anybody else? And it's hard to find. I have found two areas, though. Dogs, people who are hell-bent for Donald Epstein and really into the Democratic Party, they all seem to have a shared love of dogs. So if we could advocate for, and I doubt it could happen in 2 years, but a new dog park in the Ward 4 area where people who genuinely would not mix otherwise could end up maybe seeing each other as just a bunch of dog owners as opposed to on one side or the other side of the political spectrum. The other avenue, the other area where I feel as though people have overlap is anger. That's another thing that really brings people together. Over on Thoreau, I lived over there for a year. My family was in temporary housing, and I had a unique opportunity to hear out of one side of the apartment a bunch of people who were bemoaning the Harris Walls campaign, but over here there'd be a party that was bemoaning the Donald Epstein ilk. But they were all furious about the construction that's going on next to the railroad track. So that, if we had a forum about that, we could bring people together there, and if we could plant little seeds of love and understanding in that, you know, smoke screen, that would be an interesting thing. I could probably put that together. But those would be smaller community-based sorts of things. I would love to see larger endeavors happen, but I wouldn't fool myself into thinking that I could get that done in the remainder of Cindy's term.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch it up and go this way this time and then come back around. So, Councilmember Evans, so we don't steal your question again.
I'll use my backup.
Okay.
So great job, Jason. Thanks for being here. It was a pleasure working with you on Public
Yes.
Advisory Board. So it's
Yes,
always
Public
good.
Advisory Board. He was
good.
involved in the project that was
We
so
were on that
successful.
together. So
And
thank
is
you.
involved in the fact that we're getting more money to do more of them, I believe.
We're
You had
we're
an
trying.
initiative.
Yeah, we're trying.
Well, but yeah, the initiatives.
More money this year, so we're in good shape.
One thing I've learned in my public service is that things take time.
Fortunately.
That's
So
a
patience.
good lesson to have learned before getting up here. I will say that.
That's been driven home.
Yeah. So I'll ask actually the same question I asked the first time then. Just talk a little bit about your work style, management style. If you talk about that, how you work with other folks, how you work to build consensus among people, yeah, you know, specifically in a work environment.
In my work environment, I try to get to yes by listening as hard as I can and having no ego in it. A job needs to get done. I don't really care if it's my way that it gets done so long as everyone's happy, and I'm happy when the job gets done because we're all on the same side. We're all trying to get the project accomplished. In the context of my profession, I'm an artist and illustrator and designer, and there have been times in my life where I was just ready to fight for the squirrel with the earring when they wanted the squirrel with the pool cue, but I don't need to be the one that is got the idea that gets us over the finish line. I just want to get over the finish line in first place and under budget and ahead of schedule if possible. So compromise and communication and enthusiasm and you know, trying to keep a big picture top of mind.
Great, thanks.
And I rule with an iron fist. No.
All right, Councilwoman Hamilton Steiner.
I was trying to think how I can rework my question because I think he answered a little bit, but I want to dig in perhaps a little bit more on what you had talked about when you were talking about the division in Ward 4, and we frame it as diversity, right? So you are correct. Ward 4 is probably the most economically, culturally, ethically, racially, and socioeconomically diverse wards of this city. And there are people that believe that I don't have a right to exist, that I'm not their equal. There are people that would like to see the elimination of LGBTQIA people in our community, including one of our candidates. And so I guess my question is, if maybe you can talk a little bit about how you, as a Ward 4 city council member, would manage and balance all of this diversity, and handle the division that is coming as a result of our diversity.
Yeah. First thing I'd like to talk about is that word. There has been millions of dollars spent on think tanks to turn that word into a negative for 30% of the country, whatever the percentage is. The idea that diversity, equity, and inclusion is somehow a bad thing, that ruffles my feathers, considering that diversity, equity, and inclusion are all good things. I mean, we need inclusion. What's the opposite of inclusion? What is the opposite of equity? What is the opposite of diversity? Homogeny? We need to have diversity. It's absolutely imperative to a society or to a gene pool. We need diversity for the same reason we don't marry our cousins. So my point is that to understand that we all come from different places, but we're all the same, like there's genuinely almost no difference between any of us, race, gender, like biologically speaking, they always throw out this, biologically that. Biologically, there's no difference between me and you or me and him. We're all Ohioans. So how do you tackle that? I don't know, unfortunately, is the answer to that. But trying to not meet anger with anger and trying to meet fury with understanding and love, I don't know how to do it, but there has to be a way to do it. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question, but it's something I think about all the time. I mean, dog parks, youth centers, something. I mean, there was a time, I mean, a lot of people don't share common experiences these days. I mean, there were times when everyone was going to one or another churches, or they'd all be at the same movie theater or something, but we're all compartmentalized. We're at home watching television. You walk down Alameda, all the houses have got huge televisions on. They're all watching different stuff, but they're all doing the same thing separately. So I don't know how to bring people together, but I think about it all the time, and there has to be an answer. I just don't know exactly what it is. But it drives me crazy, the idea of demonizing queer folk or LGBTQ or trans people based on who they are. I don't understand how you can have a religious idea that somehow they're wrong, considering God don't make no trash. So I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't understand why our governor is trying to legislate against gender reaffirming surgery. If I or one of my children told me that they were so sad or something was so wrong that they wanted to kill themselves, and then there was some medicine that could help them feel right, and then some guy wasn't going to let me have it for my child, I would kick through and bash through and tear down the walls to get to it. And I don't understand why those barriers are being put up. I honestly don't understand it. There has to be something, some way to convince people that they are being misled on that. And that ultimately is my feeling about the MAGA crew, is that at best they're being just woefully misinformed, and at worst they're being out and out lied to, and their basest fears and angers are being harnessed and weaponized against people who would not do them harm but are the object of their fury and would do them harm, clearly, as we have seen recently, which, again, I don't know how to stop it, but I would want to somehow put in and pitch in. If somebody had an idea that sounded good, I would get behind it and sell it as hard as I could. I'm sorry if that went on too long.
No, you're good. Thank you so much. I think you touched on a lot of the points and the challenges that are faced in governance, and when you're governing a community like Lakewood that is striving to be not just diverse, not just equitable, and not just inclusive, but also be a community that is accessible and a community where people belong. And yes, that includes even people that we might disagree with politically, right? So how do we manage all of that? And you have a lot of that in Ward 4.
They don't I mean, a lot of people don't have perspective. They'll say something about an African-American person or a gay person, and they will never have any sort of understanding of how that person has been. I mean, your average MAGA person, has that guy ever been the only white guy in the room? Have they ever been the only person in the room where everybody else is othering them? If they did, perhaps something would go off and they could learn, but I don't know if they're not encouraged to have those experiences. They're not encouraged to I mean, they're going after education. They're going after any opportunity to hear about the context that we're in, is being taken away. They want them ignorant. They want them just doing what they're told, and they don't want them to be informed. And I don't know what to do, unfortunately. I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being honest, open, and transparent in your discussion. Thank you.
Councilmember Stubig.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason, for your volunteer work that you do. I greatly appreciate that you go out of your way to try and understand what's going on in Lakewood, and then also turning around and sharing it with your children is very admirable. Thank you for doing that. So I want to talk about you for a minute and tell me about your desire, why you want to be on City Council, and what serving on City Council will do for you personally. And also, if you see yourself in the future being involved in politics.
Thank you. I've seen the work that you do, and I know that it's tedious and difficult and very, very important. And those are jobs that need to be done. And if people don't stand up to go do the difficult job, then the job will be done by somebody in ill faith, is what I've seen happen. I take for granted that everyone on this board currently is here executing the role of representative in good faith. And I wanted to offer my services because I would do that. I would do the absolute best that I could to have the citizens of Ward 4 top of mind. I've had opportunities to glimpse into the lives of Ward 4 people that I wouldn't necessarily usually have had the opportunity to do. I was a postal carrier for a while, and it was like 8 years ago now. But I would be in mansions at the lake, but then I would be, delivering mail to people who are living in dire straits, frankly. And the idea that there's such a split, like the income inequality just in our ward is astonishing. So if I could in some way find myself in a position where I could advocate for, again, as Pixie was pointing out, people who don't have a voice, and I'd listen and be that voice for them, I would find great fulfillment in that. Personally, you were asking what's in it for me. I would feel as though I had done some good in a world where a lot of people are doing bad for money, and I would be able to offer sweat equity to combat that. And I would take, again, when a school, some people have the opportunity when a school closes and they're inconvenienced to have plenty of time to round up the troops and spend lots of money on signs and T-shirts and buy bullhorns. But a lot of people are having a hard time in Ward 4, and they don't have the opportunity to take off work to rally, or don't have the disposable income to make signs with slogans. So again, that's who I would have top of mind. I mean, I'm doing okay. I've got insurance. I've got a job. My wife has a job. We've got a home over our head. But I would want to be somebody who could be helping others have the advantages that I have been allowed in this town. Did I answer your question?
Yes,
I
thank
hope
you.
so. I kind of got off topic there, sort of railing about the voice and the voiceless.
Thank you. All right, and then last but not least, Councilmember Bullock.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Jason, thanks for being here. Thanks for your service on not a small number of boards. You probably are at City Hall plenty between Innovation Task Force, the Arts, Public Arts Task Force, and what am I missing?
We just had the first LCRAC meeting in person ever in my tenure, and it was fun. It's right back there.
Great. Well, you know, so that's not a small contribution. So thank you, and I know your experience and you care. So you've covered some of this. I'll ask the same question, everybody. Can you identify some Ward 4 neighborhood level needs or issues and share thoughts on possible improvements that might shape your work if you were to be the council person? And I'm not talking as much about the sheer politics. When, you know, from a neighborhood or almost a nonprofit mentality.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of what we do is maybe somewhere in the background colored by what people see on cable news, but really it's neighborhood stuff, it's workaday stuff. And then there is one other question I'd like to ask, which is you referenced in your letter a concept for potential groundbreaking new legislation, and if you could share an example. So those are both ends of the spectrum,
okay.
Feet on the ground and then shooting for the stars.
Thank you for the question, sir. Ward 4 needs that I could see. We're really good with parks for little kids up to a certain age, but at around 12, they can't get on the playground equipment anymore. And then there's a full 4 years before they can drive anywhere. And so a bunch of kids, I've seen it happen, don't have anywhere to go between the months of like September and March because it's rainy and cold outside. They often congregate at Cane's Chicken, but a youth center of some kind where kids could go and be allowed to swear, because that's what all middle schoolers apparently like to do. They love to swear. I've seen it happen. They like to throw rocks and swear, and if they had a place where they could do that in some sort of controlled environment, I think that would be a great thing, like a dog park, but for tweens. I'm serious. You're laughing, but the idea is called the swear jar. And so you'd go in, it'd be like a large building, and there'd be a place for some video games, and there'd be a place maybe some musical instruments. And over here's like the rage room where you can get like estate sales. They'll give you plates, and they can go smash some plates. And we'd have off-duty police officers there because the bomb squad, they're really good. They know how projectiles go, so they'd show the kids how to break a plate without getting their eyes hurt and stuff like that. And there are places that are popping up like this, like Athlete Academy is really, really cool, and a place called Lemon Seeds, which is really, really cool. So barring making a youth center, I would advocate that the city could maybe subsidize, because Athlete Academy, I don't know if you're aware of it, it's really cool. And I'm anybody within the sound of my voice, I'm not suggesting that it be any cheaper, but it could be considered expensive by some people. So if the city council could allow something in the budget for kids who are interested to apply for funding so that they could get a membership to go down there, because it's like a techie kind of thing, like games, but also they have classes and stuff, but they have memberships. So something that kind of speaks to that between 13 to 16, it's not a great time for kids to have idle hands because they can get into all kinds of crazy stuff. From what I've seen, I have kids that age is why I'm seeing this, because I wasn't aware of it before this. In my experience, I've turned my basement into a practice space, and my son's band Roadkill practices down there, which is fantastic until you hear the same Foo Fighters songs 400 times on a Sunday, which I've done. I'm not a Foo Fighters fan, but they have a great time down there, and they swear, and they screw stuff up, and they're not out on the street getting into mischief or vandalizing or doing the kind of stuff that kids get into when they're 13, 14 years old. So that's one suggestion that I might have on like a local neighborhood level. I mean, I think it would be good for any neighborhood, but I think Ward 4 would have a great need for that. blue skying it, and I'm going to sound a little off the rails here, but you asked, and I appreciate that you asked. Keep on coming up with that notion that corporations are people. It was determined by the Supreme Court that Citizen United, that corporations are people. But when people break the law, people go to jail. And so I'm wondering why First Energy, a corporation that broke the law, their C-suite paid people off to the tune of $60 million, why they're allowed to continue being in business, and why they were simply fined $283 million or something like that, which really, if you're making billions of dollars in profits, is really just the cost of doing business. I would advocate for legislation that would let Lakewood start making its own energy. I mean, we've had induction for like 100 years or something like that. Thank you, Michael Faraday. If we could come up with some sort of small pilot program here where we start trying to make our own electricity, if at first maybe just for the municipal buildings, or maybe for the school buildings, or some way to generate our electricity. We have a huge body of water out here, which is constantly moving. We need movement to make electricity. We have wind, we have solar, we have other bioelectronic possibilities. If we could just take 49,800 people off of their rolls and didn't give them any money, I would be a very happy man and a very, very proud legislator, because I don't feel as though that company should be in business anymore, because they're just going to do it again. If we learned anything from World War I, if you just charge people for trying to take over the world, they're going to try to do it again 20 years later. I'm sorry, Woodrow Wilson and the war reparations and the ultimate failure of the, sorry, I'm going off into World War I, sorry. Yeah, thank you very much. But I just don't feel as though that First Energy is done. Actually, I just saw in the paper on Sunday, they're trying to get the regulators to let blackouts go longer. And this board, I believe, responded by saying, hell no, which is awesome, which is why I'm a fan of this board of legislators. So, yeah, if we could make national news by breaking up a conglomerate, electrical provider, that would be awesome.
Thanks very much.
Also, I think anybody who pays taxes in Lakewood should be able to get on the same health care that the cops and you, or maybe not you, but because you're not full-timers, but if we could offer a health care system to anybody who needs it. I mean, the richest of us won't need it because they'll have their own, and the poorest of us will have Medicaid, but people in the middle, if you were able to somehow, how many city employees are there? How many thousands? Is it 12? How many? It's something, it's high. So, but it's a big pool of people. So if we added, say, okay, so there's 49,000 people in Lakewood, and so the top few, so maybe it's another 20,000. We add another 20,000 people to that insurance pool, maybe we'll get a break on it, and it'll cost less than the price of a new city hall. I don't know, maybe. We'd have to crunch the numbers. $39 million is a lot of money. I think we could insure some people for $39 million.
All right, so we are about at time. So if you have, I don't know if you have a closing statement.
I think that was my closing
Okay.
statement. Healthcare for all.
All right, but if you have one, now would be the time.
My house caught on fire a year ago, and the first people that showed up on the scene were the two police officers. It's 2:30 in the morning. I was in my underwear trying to put the fire out with a garden hose. And the police came up, took the hose out of my hand, and started fighting the fire on my behalf while I could go in and put some pants on, check on my family, and make sure that the cat was still alive. I'm forever in debt to the police of this town. The firefighters that came out and put the fire out, they responded in sort of a minute 30 or something like that. I feel as though when a catastrophic event happens for your family, the fact that there are people that respond immediately as their job and without reservation or hesitation is amazing. And I feel as though your house catching on fire is analog to a family member getting a horrible diagnosis of like stage 4 cancer. And so I feel as though if there were any way possible, and where there's a will, there's a way, to offer what the federal government refuses to offer to its citizens somehow. I don't know. Again, this is not the kind of thing that's going to happen overnight, but If you pay taxes in Lakewood, you can have the opportunity of getting on the municipal health insurance, so that someone comes and tells you that your mom has cancer, then people come running to help them, and you don't have to start a GoFundMe or be like, this is a death sentence. 60% of America doesn't have $500 in the bank. That's a real statistic. I think it might even be worse now, which means that a lot of people in Ward 4 don't have $500 in the bank, and they do not have the kind of money that they can throw at a catastrophic illness. So if that was possible, and I believe it's possible, that would be something that I think that would be worth the time of the very engaged public servants that are the Lakewood City Council. And I would be proud to be a part of it. That is my closing statement. Thanks so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Jason. We
Thanks so
appreciate
much.
you being here. All right, so right about on time. Next up is Sydney Leitner-Canaday. So Sydney, I told the other, you can either stand or sit, whichever you prefer. So whichever one you would like, you're welcome to do so. Just because the other one stood doesn't mean that you have to. And welcome. We gave everyone the opportunity to prepare an opening statement. If you have one, if you'd like to do that, you're welcome to do that now.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you. Good evening, members of council and President Keppel, and residents of Lakewood that are watching and here. My name is Sydney Leitner-Canaday, and my path to Lakewood was always in the stars. I remember visiting here when I was 10 to 13 years old, living here with my sister, and walking these neighborhoods and really realizing that this is a place that I would like to live when I would grow up. And then I know going to college, once I moved back up here to Cuyahoga County, that this is somewhere that I did want to live and that I did want to grow a family. It is somewhere I've built my life, I've gotten married, and I've been building my foundation here personally, professionally, and in public service. You know, Ward 4 in particular represents the reality of Lakewood. It's one of our most diverse wards, of course, and you know, you have renters, you have homeowners, you have young people, seniors, and newcomers. And I understand that, you know, diversity isn't really my talking point because it's a lived experience. And I live my experience through being a renter and being involved in the community as much as I can, and supporting policy that, you know, I would like to go through as directly impacting housing, infrastructure, and quality of life. And I believe in effective government is, you know, requires preparation, accountability, and deep respect for people impacted by our decisions.
Thank you. So as I told the others, as you know, council meets on typically Monday nights. First and third Mondays are the full council meetings with committee meetings beforehand. We have the other Mondays, we have other committee meetings, so pretty much every Monday you're gonna be here. Usually it could start as early as 5:30, usually 6 o'clock. There may be other days as well. And then council members estimate they spend about 20 to 25 hours a week on council business. That could be out in the community, could be answering emails and phone calls. Some people spend more, some might spend less, but that's about the average estimate. So with all that being said, would you have the capacity to fulfill the obligations?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so then we'll jump in. My first question is pretty simple, is just tell us about your engagement with the Lakewood community.
Yes. So I have been engaged with the Lakewood community by being on Lakewood Citizens Advisory Council and viewing community development block grants and ESG and HUD funding. I've been on the board for over 2 years now, and but most of my advocacy and work has been more of from a county level, constituent level work, and state legislative work, and then being involved politically as well.
Thank you. I'll go Vice President Baker.
Thank you, and thank you, Cindy, for applying and putting yourself out there. This is not easy. Many of us up here have gone through the same process. But I'll ask you the same question I asked other folks, which is, you have 20, 21 months if appointed to the position, and kind of mapping that out, what do you think you could accomplish in that 20, 21 months for Ward 4, for the city, and then kind of interrelated with that, what do you think the biggest challenges are in Ward 4 that you may be able to accomplish in that 20?
That's a great question. So I think as council person, I would like to, continuously work on what affects our neighborhood as much as possible. One of the biggest investments right now is the Madison Park and Madison Park development, and I know that Madison Park is a big, vital part of that area. And so getting our community to be more engaged and understanding how the process works. And I think because when you see how the process works and how, seeing the results, I think it makes you more connected into going. I think as a council person, I would like to start something I had an idea about, which is like a Ward 4 walkthrough. And a Ward 4 walkthrough is where you can walk with your council person and kind of point out, whatever needs, not wants, but needs or concerns, questions, and getting those direct answers from your council person. So it's kind of like a way to get the community engaged with having the building of the public trust of being able to talk to your council person in that moment and being accessible as possible. I think some of the challenges that are happening in Ward 4 happen to be, housing stability and, sometimes nuances and noise as well, complaints. And, sometimes that could affect the quality of life. So like with housing stability, I know sometimes a complaint is like about the apartment buildings, in certain areas not being up to code. And sometimes that can, lose a little bit of hope and have a little bit of apathy towards if things are being worked towards. And I know that's a big concern of like if buildings are up to code. And so having that open space of, going through that process and seeing how that can be worked on. And then I know sometimes, noise can be a part of the area as well, a complaint. And so going through that situation carefully and thoughtfully and seeing what we can do to better that quality of life as well.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Bullock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Sydney. Welcome,
Hi.
and thank you for your engagement in our community and your leadership in politics. We're friends. I've gotten to know you over the last 5 or so years, doing all the things you said in your opening statement. So I appreciate your application to the Ward 4 opening. So same question for you as for others. Can you, from a neighborhood basis, from a just community level, could you share some of your thinking about what Ward 4 neighborhood level needs may be and some improvements you might see potential for, and that might shape your work if you were to be appointed as a Ward 4 council person?
Thank you. I think some of the areas that need to be worked on, like I said, are some of the building codes, having complaints, seeing those being taken accountable of, and seeing necessarily what the city can do as far as implementing anything or coming up with services, because I know from my experience of working, I do a lot of constituent work, and I have done a lot of constituent work, and understanding what navigations, what options there might be, because sometimes not all shoe sizes fit all, especially, and I know that I think another big issue is the safe spaces a little bit. Not that Lakewood is not a safe space, but, we're seeing a decrease in safe spaces, especially with this current administration, and the worry of how do we retain and protect those, and what other options, because by the time, especially, dealing with areas and small businesses, by the time they become public, it's already, limited options. But I'm not saying that, going through the process of what city council could do, and understanding and explaining that thoroughly to the constituents, I think that builds a sense of trust when it comes to showing results as well and working as a community.
All right, Councilmember Strubing.
Thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate hearing your ideas for this ward and the idea of talking with the constituents to find out what their needs are. But I want to talk a little bit more specifically about you.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell me why you want to be on City Council, what being on City Council will do for you, and do you see yourself in any type of politics in the future?
That's a great question. So I think I'll start from the bottom of that question. So I have been working actively in government and politics, so I do eventually see myself in some sort of involvement, whether that being in leadership or being on some type of board, just being interactive with my community, whether that be political or community based. As a council person, and why I believe in Lakewood. I believe in the area that it is building to be. I see myself as a young person coming here and wanting to, build my life here. I think a lot of people feel safe with that idea. Not a lot of people know where they're going to live the next day or what they want to do. But I know for me, coming to Lakewood and building a foundation here was something I genuinely believe in. It is, as I always say, it's like the happiest place in America. So I believe in the work as a council person to making the quality of life better, especially as for me as a young person. I represent maybe about over a third of what this age representation is in the city, and especially people who are building houses here, who are building life here, and growing and taking their kids to school. And I see that a lot in my neighborhoods, and being interactive in the community, especially in community clubs and walkability and businesses, and it's a really fast growing place that I would like to continue going on for our residents.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Couple, and thank you, Sydney, for being here and taking the time to apply and come interview and putting yourself out there. It's not easy to do, especially in this format where it feels like a complete and total interrogation. But I think hopefully we've tried to make it fun. I just sat where you were last year going through the process, so I completely understand what you're going through. You've touched on a little bit, and I know you've have probably heard my question that I will be asking in the direction I'm going towards. But you touched on a little bit about Ward 4 being the most diverse ward in Lakewood. So can you share how you will manage and balance the diverse and sometimes competing needs and interests of the ward? And you might have alluded to it a little bit, but can you maybe detail out a little bit more how you will manage that?
Yes. So I think one thing for sure is that going in head on is that not all sizes fit all, and realizing there has to be a balance when it comes to building a community, because not everybody's going to agree necessarily with the life needs of either wherever you live, because you have to realize we have such a diverse when it comes to race, it comes to gender, it comes to economically. So you have someone who might be, a different socially, economically well-off person that might be next to someone who is struggling to pay bills. But it is all about listening thoroughly and carefully and balancing those needs when it comes to that, and finding a way that, listening and balancing the needs that it impacts the community as a whole, regardless if people agree with you or not. To be honest, oh my goodness, to be honest, whoops. To be honest, I believe that, disagreements are going to happen regardless of whatever seat you are publicly facing in. And I welcome disagreements, I will say, because I think, it makes you well-rounded, and it challenges you to knowing that there's other perspectives out there than just one. But it's all about how you manage that and in coming to a consensus that works for all.
Thank you.
All right, and last but not least, Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Sydney. Good to see you again. Thanks for being here. I'm going to stick with my backup question now, just because I've asked it. Can you talk a little bit about your work style, management style, how you interact with other people, specifically in the workplace, go about trying to build consensus and solve problems?
Perfect. Yeah. I think I'm a very easygoing person. I listen thoroughly as much as I can and believe in giving productive input into what is needed into the conversation. I try to go into much of the processes of going into long-term thinking rather than short-term pressures. And listening, and that comes with listening and engaging as much as possible. And I believe that regardless of, if I disagree with colleagues or not, that we always eventually come to a consensus. I'm very understanding, and I believe, you can agree to disagree. But as long as we are on a consistent basis to getting the work done, then anything could be done.
Great, thank you.
Great. Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you want to make sure to highlight in terms of your skills or experience or what you'd bring? And then I'll give you a chance to do your closing statement too, but I thought before we do that, if there's anything else.
I would just add that going into this was something I thought about thoroughly, and especially as me as a young person. I think we don't see a lot of young people really going towards a seat. And when I say young, I mean I am under the age of 30. So, that was something that I feel that I can add on, especially onto council with my knowledge and getting engaged with the community as much as I am, but also having the institutional knowledge that I do have that I can bring to council and really making an impact in the community.
If you, I know you already serve on CAC, but if you're not successful with the appointment, are you interested in serving on any other boards or commissions?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have any in particular in mind? You don't have to, but just in case.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then if you have a closing statement for us, unless any other council members, any follow-up questions? Okay. If you have a closing statement, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a wonderful experience, and thank you for your thoughtful questions. And I hope that I was able to give as much of good answers as I could. I would take this role basically as a legislator, listening, asking informed questions, and working with my colleagues to make decisions grounded in facts and thinking of the community impact. Like I said before, I just really believe that Lakewood works best when they are, confident in their local government and concerns are listened to thoroughly. And I hope to continue that regardless of what happens, that I will always be engaged in my community.
Thank you. Thank you, Sydney. We appreciate you coming in and applying. All right, so we're a little bit ahead. Matt, if you're ready, we can take you if you want to. You good? Okay. All right, so next up is Matt Bixenstein. Stein. All right. I don't know why I'm always second guessing myself on that one. Okay.
I'm going to switch it up.
All right, do it. Let's do it. Let's change it up.
Okay, so I guess you're on. Thank you.
Serious card stock, too.
No, that's the bribes. All right, so welcome. And Matt, I'll let you go ahead and start with your opening statement if you're welcome to do that. If we're ready to do that.
Sounds great. Good evening, City Council members, clerical staff, and fellow community members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here. My name is Matt Bixenstein, and I wish to be the next Ward 4 councilperson for the city of Lakewood. I've had the privilege of calling Lakewood home for 16 years. After renting on Elbert Avenue, my wife Elise and I purchased a home on Clarence Avenue in Ward 4 11 years ago, and we were married in 2015 in one of our ward's most prominent structures, the Screw Factory. Our 2 children attend Harrison Elementary School in the historic Birdtown neighborhood. Ward 4 is an exceptionally unique and special place, one that is diverse both ethnically and socioeconomically. It encompasses the densely populated Gold Coast neighborhood, the charming working-class neighborhood of Birdtown, and everything in between. Ward 4 has thriving commercial corridors along Detroit, Madison, and West 117th, 2 of Lakewood's 4 largest parks in Madison and Cove, and access to 2 RTA rail stations just across the border in Cleveland. It's Lakewood's only ward to border Cleveland on 2 sides. It's home to Mayhall's, the oldest bowling alley in the state, and to our city's lovely repurposed community center. I've spent the last decade honing my skills as a community builder, both in professional and volunteer capacities. From 2016 to 2020, I served as marketing and development manager for Lakewood Alive. This experience allowed me to tell the story of Lakewood's many vibrant neighborhoods, business corridors, and unique gatherings like Light Up Lakewood. I was responsible for fundraising so that the organization could continue to do the important work it does supporting residents, businesses, and neighborhoods. More recently, while working as a stay-at-home parent, I've continued to be civically minded by pursuing extensive volunteerism. My volunteer experience the last 5 years includes establishing Friends of Madison Park and the Clarence Avenue Block Club, as well as contributing to the Lakewood Tree Advisory and Education Board, Keep Lakewood Beautiful, Lakewood Soccer Association, Lakewood Hike and Bike Program, Harrison PTA, and more. I look forward to sharing some specifics from these experiences this evening. I believe in the importance of our democratic process and have been active in local city council campaigns canvassing on behalf of a variety of candidates. I'm a champion for public parks, neighborhood camaraderie, tree canopy growth, complete streets, small business support, affordable housing, and community beautification. I look forward to talking about some of my council priorities tonight as well. I would welcome the opportunity to continue building community while serving as Ward 4 councilperson and contribute to the outstanding work that this city council does in our community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. So you've heard my spiel. So you know council meets on Monday nights, first and third Mondays, full council meetings. We have committee meetings preceding as well as on the other Mondays, sometimes additional days as well for meetings. And like I mentioned, council members estimate they spend around 20 to 25 hours per week on council business, whether that's in the community or responding to emails and calls and things, or drafting legislation. Some of us may spend more, some might spend less, but that's the estimate. So with all that being said, would you be able to fulfill the obligations of a council member?
Yes, I would.
Okay, thanks. Okay, you touched a little bit about this on your opening statement, but I'll give you an opportunity to expound. So if you can tell us about your engagement with the Lakewood community.
Yes, thank you. And I want to preface this with saying that for the sake of brevity, I'm not going to be able to acknowledge the many, many people who assisted with these projects and endeavors, but I am grateful for those people. I'm proud of the work I've done as a community builder over the last decade. As founder and president of Friends of Madison Park, I've been building park community on a daily basis. I worked with the city to establish the Little Free Locker Room as a resource to ensure all park visitors have access to sporting goods equipment when visiting Madison Park. I worked with the city to establish the Friends of Madison Park Community Garden, where we operate 25-plot garden that's free of charge to our gardeners. And we have gardeners from all walks of life, including apartment dwellers who otherwise wouldn't have access to green space. I worked with Keep Lakewood Beautiful to design and build the adopt-a spots in front of Beck's Pool. And I continue to maintain those adopt-a spots 4 years later as a welcoming entrance to Madison Park. I've spearheaded hosting community events in Madison Park, like the Madison Park Chalk Fest, and I also ensure that our park group has a presence at other groups' community events, like Madison Court Coalition's block parties and Lakewood Alive's Birdtown Picnic. I've also supported the city in its efforts to develop and implement the Madison Park Master Plan that this very council adopted, and of which Phase 1 was completed last year. And I've had the opportunity and the privilege to collaborate with a wide range of organizations, including the City of Lakewood, Lakewood Alive, MC3, Keep Lakewood Beautiful, Bunts to Birdtown, H2O, and more. As founder and president of the Clarence Avenue Block Club, I host an annual block party in in August, a holiday lights contest in December, and an Easter egg hunt in April. I administer a Facebook group comprising 75 of my neighbors, and I strive to provide a sense of place and belonging so that we neighbors can support one another through any challenges that arise, share gardening produce, and return missing pets. As a board member for the Lakewood Tree Advisory and Education Board, I was part of the group that helped launch the Lakewood Tree Giveaway Program, which in our first 2 years has provided residents with 600 native trees for private yard planting, with 400 more trees slated for giveaway in this year, 2026. I hope to have a chance to speak more about my love of trees later on. As a former board member for Keep Lakewood Beautiful, I had the opportunity for 3 years to assist this group with their city beautification efforts and to help amplify the message of the great work they do in the community. As a board member for Lakewood Soccer Association, I never cease to be amazed by this group's volunteers, their ability to orchestrate a 600-kid rec soccer league. If you haven't had a chance to check out Saturday Soccer down the Metro Parks, I highly recommend it.
As a member, there's not enough parking. But.
That's a fair point. I can talk about some solutions there too. But as a member of the Lakewood Hike and Bike program, I serve as the champion for Harrison Elementary as we strive to encourage more community members to consider walking or biking to school. And I try to lead by example. My kids and I are proud of the fact that we're currently riding a car-free streak this entire school year, despite at times some challenging weather. And as a member of the Harrison Elementary School PTA, I co-chair Harrison's first ever school dance last February, and I currently oversee a 12-person committee as we're running it back with an Under the Sea themed dance on February 7th. Tickets go on sale this Thursday.
Appreciate the plug while we're at it. All right, thank you. Vice President Baker.
Thank you, Matt. And you know, I as you go through your things, I'm thankful as a community member, you know, that I go to Saturday soccer every Saturday, and I have a 4-year-old who's about to start, so another 4 years I'll be in, so it'll be like a decade for me. But I'll ask you a similar question. Thank you for putting yourself out there. This is not easy. Thank you for your service you've already done to our community. But I'll ask you a similar question. You got about 21, 22 months, you know, to serve out this term. What do you think you can accomplish in that 20, 22 months, and what do you think, you know, are some of the challenges that are unique to Ward 4 that you think may align with what you seek to accomplish in that 22 months?
Yes. To speak first to just a couple Ward 4 specific issues, there's noise issues in East Birdtown regarding the Neograph factory. There's parking issues in Birdtown resulting from the thriving Madison Avenue commercial corridor. Moving north, there's a major void in the Detroit Avenue commercial corridor where the Studio West 117 Fieldhouse closed. And moving north further, there's a pair of nuisance motels in the Gold Coast neighborhood. I think that my first order of business, and something I think I could take a stab at in the first 21 months, is, and it would probably impact all of these issues to some extent, is striving to increase community engagement. When you look at a City of Lakewood block club map, there are no block clubs going east or southeast of my street, Clarence Avenue, and I'd like to see that change. Back before the pandemic, the city hosted an annual block club captains meeting each spring where block club captains and aspiring captains came together and shared, networked and shared ideas. And it went away with the pandemic, and I'd like to see that come back. And if it can't happen at a citywide basis, then I'd like to see it happen at a ward-by-ward basis. I'd also like to explore loosening the rules for hosting a block party. Currently, you have to have signatures from 75% of residents on your block to apply for a block party permit. And for anybody who's done any canvassing lately, which I know is everybody on the stage, it's really difficult to get 75% of people to open their door, much less sign a document you hand them. So I'd like to explore if there's a way to loosen those rules, or perhaps, if not remove, reduce this barrier to entry for creating more block clubs. With block clubs, I see that as serving several purposes for us. There's getting neighbors to interact with one another. That's really important, and that helps to break down some of the divisiveness that some of my fellow applicants have talked about. There's also opening up more opportunity for us as community leaders to be able to go into their neighborhoods and talk to people where they're at and in their comfort zone, in their neighborhoods and on their porches. And there's also the opportunity to drive voter registration, because unfortunately Ward 4 has historically lagged behind in voter turnout, and that's something I'd like to see changed. I could talk about myriad issues on the citywide wise, affordable housing, small business support, tree canopy loss, recurring power outages. Of course, the looming City Hall decision is a monumental decision that I know you guys have been working on a great deal. But I think just to give an issue on the citywide basis that I'd want to really sink my teeth into, I'm a big fan of making Lakewood safer for pedestrians and bicyclists, and then in turn, motorists. And I'm a big proponent of the Complete Streets initiative that this council's adopted and that's in the works right now. And so I want to contribute to enforcing distracted driving laws and adding traffic calming along more side streets and making crosswalk signs automatically prompt pedestrians. And I'll finish by saying one local answer for an issue I'd like to take on with regards to pedestrian safety is the hawk signals. You know, as you know, we currently have a hawk signal on Madison, one on Detroit, and a third one west down Madison by Beer Engine that's about to come online. And in theory, it's a great concept because it allows for, pedestrians to have more access points for crossing our busy commercial corridors. But in practice, if you were to talk to anybody on my street, Clarence Avenue, they would, virtually everybody's had a near-death experience with the hawk signal. And that's simply because, unfortunately, too many motorists don't understand that they need to treat it as a stoplight when it's red. And so I think the starting point for trying to figure out a solution, because I think hawk signals are great, is to re-examine the signage that goes with our hawk signals. Right now, the signage, it has the same font, uniform throughout. It reads something like, stop on red, if blinking red, proceed through the intersection if no one's in the intersection. And so I think the stop on red part needs to be dramatically more bold so that we can have a chance for motorists to know the rule well before they reach the intersection. So anyways, increasing community engagement and increasing pedestrian safety would be two of the issues I'd look to contribute to in my first 2 years.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go this way this time just to even it up. So Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Matt, for being here. Same goes. It takes a lot to put yourself out there and go for this. So appreciate you taking the time and your commitment to the city, with everything you've done. Same question I've been asking folks. Talk a little about how you operate in the work environment, how you interact with your coworkers, how you go about trying to get things done, solve problems, and build consensus.
Yes, thank you for the question. I consider myself a team player who strives to collaborate. My key to managing complex relationships is healthy communication that's open and honest. And the realization that you can't please everyone and that it's okay to have respectful disagreement. I was brought up to follow the golden rule, to treat others as you'd want to be treated, and I think that's a simple policy that really goes a long way in the workplace. My time at Lakewood Alive was a perfect learning grounds for practicing managing diverse relationships because on a daily basis, I worked with fellow staff members and board members and volunteers and business owners and city hall employees and community leaders and residents who were in need of support. And in many ways, my work with Friends of Madison Park is similar in that I interact with a wide assortment of people from all walks of life every day. City employees, teens, young families, fellow community members, and sports leagues, to name a few. If I go out into Madison Park on a given day, chances are I'll run into Brian, who does a great job with park maintenance, and I'll run into either Jerry or Tim or Dell, who work in park security, and then chances are, in all likelihood, I'll run into Abdul, who's the unofficial mayor of Madison Park. So I really value having a wide range of relationships with people from all walks of life in my immediate neighborhood. To finish this question, I want to end by talking about disagreement and speak to a specific example that was from my backyard, which is to say Madison Park. In a built-out city like Lakewood with finite space, it's of utmost importance that we optimize the public parks we have. The city has and continues to do a terrific job with this, but we also have to define what does optimization mean in a given context. During the early portions of the process for creating the Madison Park Master Plan, it became apparent there were two distinct camps of people with regards to park improvements. One was those who wished to maximize the recreational spaces or the recreational amenities at Madison Park by adding more courts and field space and play spaces. And two was those who wished to maximize the green space at Madison Park by adding more trees and landscaping and natural spaces. And I generally respect both viewpoints, and I see the value of both. And I think we at Friends of Madison Park, we strove to strike a balanced perspective on the matter. And I'd like to think the current version of the city's master plan reflects this effort that compromise was sought.
Thanks, Matt.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, we'll come around to Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you. Thank you, President Keppel, and thank you, Matt, for coming out here. And speaking of Mayor of Madison Park, it is his birthday today, if you did not know that.
I need to remember to wish Abdul a happy birthday
Yes.
if he's not watching.
Yes, happy birthday, Abdul, Mayor of Madison Park, the unofficial mayor of Madison Park. So again, thank you so much for applying. I was in the hot seat 1 year ago. Good luck to you. So the question I have, we've been talking about diversity, and I know you're aware of the diversity of Ward 4. And so my question is, if you can just share how you will manage and balance the diverse and sometimes competing needs and interests of the ward. And you may have touched on that just a little bit, but if you want to take the opportunity to expand on that a little bit more.
Yes, thanks for the question. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are incredibly important throughout our city, but especially in Ward 4, which, as we've said tonight, is the most ethnically and socioeconomically diverse part of Lakewood. And I take great pride in the fact that I live in a neighborhood that is so diverse, and I interact with people from all walks of life. I find that being a good listener is really important in this respect, being able to empathize with people, meet them where they're at, and hear them out and try to understand, because we can't walk in each other's shoes, but we can try to understand what it's like to walk in each other's shoes. And I think that's really important. So as a Ward 4 council person, of course I would be the council person for all people in my ward, regardless of whether they share my political beliefs or not. But I would certainly have to stress the vital importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I think if I could briefly just touch on some ways I've made that important to me in my work. The Little Free Locker Room was born out of observing bored kids in Madison Park and understanding the park visitor demographics, the fact that Madison Park does have a fair number of visitors who are economically disadvantaged. And so, we came up with this mission: let's ensure everyone who visits Madison Park has access to free sporting goods equipment. And the Healthy Lakewood Foundation was generous enough to offer us the grant money we needed to be able to continue to supply that equipment. But it's been a labor of love, because for 230 days a season, my family or one of my neighbors is stocking the locker room, and then every single night going out at dusk and cleaning up all the toys that are strewn across the park, which seems to be an inevitability. But it's also very rewarding. In the same vein, being involved with the MC3 block parties, having a presence of those, they've made such a difference as far as showcasing efforts for inclusion and diversity. And so it's been a privilege for Friends of Madison Park for us to have a steady presence where we have bubbles or mini basketball or stomp rockets at those events. It's also why co-chairing the PTA, the dance committee for Harrison Elementary is so important to me, because Harrison has a very diverse student body. More than 20 languages are represented at Harrison, and many students are multilingual, and it also enrolls a large number of economically disadvantaged students. So to be able to offer this sort of opportunity in the dead of winter for students to get together on a Saturday and have a really fun time is really special. The same with the Clarence Avenue block party. We seek inclusiveness. We at our block party on my street, it's potluck style. You can contribute what you have. There is no monetary ask. There's no fee required, because simply of the recognition that people in my neighborhood come from all walks of life, and it's a very mixed income area. So we want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to participate in our block party. And finally, with the Friends of Madison Park Community Garden, as I said, we offer it free as a free service to our gardeners. It is currently all plots are accounted for. We have a short waiting list, but in addition to having apartment dwellers, we do have some non-English first language speaking gardeners. And oftentimes my communication with those gardeners, if I'm out there trying to refill some rain barrels or empty some debris bins, is a smile, and I'm not able to communicate too much beyond that. But I will tell you this, that a lot of the gardeners we have, they have a way greener thumb than I would ever hope to have.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next, Councilmember Strebe.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for all the work that you've done with Lakewood Alive and through the Friends of Madison Park. And And thank you for picking up the balls and stuff on the on the fields when all the kids are gone. We know how that is. I do have a couple questions for you specifically. Can you tell me why you want to be on City Council and what serving on City Council will do for you personally? And do you see yourself in the future being involved in politics?
Thank you for the question. If I were to be appointed Ward 4 councilperson, I'm excited to roll up my sleeves and get to work supporting the residents of Ward 4. In many respects, it feels like a natural progression of the community work I already do. I'm excited to learn from all of you because I'll be the first to admit that I readily admit that there's a lot to learn, and I know there's a learning curve to this role, and I would need to listen and soak up information like a sponge. And I'm also excited that when my neighbors jokingly refer to me as their council person, it wouldn't have to be a joke anymore. With regards to political aspirations, if I'm speaking honestly, I don't really have any. I like being ultra-local and locally involved, so this time I don't have aspirations beyond being a city council person. I suppose it could always change, but I do have aspirations to improve as a leader and in leadership roles. And so I feel this opportunity would help me to grow personally as a leader and as a public servant. And just to give one example of leadership, as I mentioned, I like to try to listen and hear people where they're at and be able to show empathy. And when in spring of 2021, unfortunately, there was a pair of gun violence incidents at Madison Park. My family was in our living room having dinner during the first incident, and we could hear the shots ring out. But for the second incident, we were at the edge of the park and hid in a neighbor's garage. And it's something I think about to this day. And as I kind of had to wear both of my leadership hats in this situation. As a block club captain, I tried to serve as a voice of reason and restraint during a highly emotional time, because I had some neighbors who, after the second incident, wanted to go out that night and remove the rims from the basketball court, while others correctly assessed that basketball was not the issue here. And from a Friends of Madison Park perspective, we released public statements condemning gun violence and urging community support. We supported then Ward 4 councilperson Dan O'Malley in hosting a virtual town hall because the pandemic was still raging. We got permission from the city to put a Peace, Love, and Lakewood sign on the fence near the scene of the incidents, and that hung for the rest of that year. And we hosted a Third Thursday in Madison Park event series, a 4-part event series with the local church, and also supported MC3 in their first year of block parties because with the pandemic, there was a void to fill, with regards to park activation. Many of the park events that normally take place weren't taking place that year. So we're proud of the work we were able to do to help fill that void the best we could.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and last but not least, Councilmember Bullock.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Matt, thanks for being here. Really, you've covered probably in your previous answers what I wanted to ask about. So maybe this is just a catch-all. Thinking about the ward from a neighborhood level issue, needs assessment. Can you share a couple additional thoughts about possible improvements that might shape your work in advocacy? Now, you've covered a bunch of them already.
Yeah.
But you touched on a few that you didn't have time to go into, so maybe we could hear about that. Another point would be there's a lot of condo towers and apartment buildings where it is harder to engage people compared to being able to walk up front porches and knock on the front doors. So, maybe you could share any thoughts about that unique aspect. It's not totally foreign to other wards of Lakewood, but it's certainly super concentrated in Ward 4.
Yes, and I did save a Ward 4 specific issue for your question. With regards to the parking issues in Birdtown, as an urbanist, parking issues are they're a good problem. They're a healthy problem to have, but it's still one that is causing pain points for a lot of residents in Birdtown, and even on my street in Clarence, that street parking is at an extreme premium. And I know I've heard council members talk about the possibility of where applicable, striping street parking spots into 2 spots when it's wide enough. And I think that's a fine idea. But another solution that's specific to the Birdtown neighborhood would be to leverage the new Birdtown connector entrance, pedestrian entrance to Masson Park, and to encourage motorists to park at Masson Park and walk the entrance to Thrush Avenue, and then you're right in the heart of Birdtown. Masson Park has 230 parking spaces, and they're rarely near capacity. And so this new pathway does present an opportunity for a new solution to some of the parking pain that's felt in the Birdtown neighborhood, particularly as some of the new venues, such as the Birdtown Brewery, start to open up. With regards to the Gold Coast, that's certainly, as someone who lives in the southern part of the ward, I would need to prioritize really spending a lot of time in the northern part and seeking out residents and trying to learn more. I know that most of the apartment buildings in the Gold Coast do have some sort of, if not a government per se, but there is actually a block club system. There are some block parties and some events, community events, and sometimes there's leadership positions at the apartment. So I think I would have to try to immerse myself and earn the right to visit some of their public events they host within their buildings, and really just again put on my best listening hat and be an active listener, and try to learn about some of their pain points, so that I could help. I realize it's a really densely populated neighborhood. It's a really unique neighborhood, and I certainly want to better immerse myself in that neighborhood. If I could just speak briefly to 2 other issues that are citywide, but are important to me, and these are priorities that would be for me if I was on council. Tree canopy replenishment. Like most of Cuyahoga County, Lakewood has lost a considerable portion of its tree canopy coverage the last few decades as the trees that were planted when our homes were originally built have aged out. The city of Lakewood has a stated goal to increase tree canopy coverage by 10% in the next 10 years. And that's why the Lakewood Tree Giveaway Program is so important, because the city does a really great job of planning on public spaces like tree lawns and parks. But to really meet our goal, we need to really have a considerably more effort at private yard plantings and getting residents motivated to plant in their own private yards. Trees improve our quality of life in so many ways, and many of them are obvious. They clean our air and water, cool our environment, reduce flooding and erosion, lower energy costs, increase property values. But some of the ways are less obvious. For instance, studies have shown that streets with healthy, mature tree canopies, such as Lark Avenue and Birdtown, tend to work as traffic calming, because motorists, their perception is the street is narrow, or therefore they kind of naturally slow down. And there's also studies that have linked healthy tree canopies to improved mental health and to lower crime rates. And so, even if I were to be appointed to Ward 4 councilperson and no longer able to serve on the Tree Advisory and Education Board, I would still want to be really passionate about supporting our tree canopy efforts. The other issue I'll touch on briefly is small business support. Our vibrant small business community helps make Lakewood special, and especially here in Ward 4. I come from a small business family. My twin brother runs a bicycle shop in Akron, and I have the utmost respect for how hard small business owners work. I'm proud to be a member of the Bunts to Birdtown Merchant Group through my work with Friends of Masson Park, and I've also worked closely with the Downtown Lakewood Business Alliance through some of my Lakewood Alive experiences. So if I were to be appointed, I'd look forward to working with fellow council members and the city to increase the level of support we provide our small business community, both citywide and in Ward 4.
Thank you very much for your thoughtful answers, and thanks also for your service on the various boards and commissions. It's quite a lot that you've done, and that's already a significant amount of personal time and family time that you've invested in the city. And I really do like the sports equipment lending library. That was, I thought, one of the more creative things we've seen in Lakewood Parks recently. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you wanted to make sure to tell us about your skills and experience?
If I could briefly share a story. Following the severe storm that ripped through our region in early August of 2024, Madison Park, like most of our city, was littered with downed trees and debris. The city's public works and forestry departments were understandably overwhelmed, so they gave us at Friends of Madison Park permission to stake a leaning tree that was salvageable and to start cleaning up debris around the park. And we had a nice handful of neighbors, kids, and park community members who assisted the city as a small mountain of debris took shape in the south parking lot. And it was really inspiring to see, so many neighbors come out and work together for this cause. Once we were done, I went to check on the state of our community garden and discovered that a squirrel had fallen into a rain barrel and drowned. It was sad. It was also really odorous in the August humidity. And once again, the park community stepped up. A few neighbors helped lift and drain the barrel. A park security guard disposed of the squirrel, thank goodness, because that's not something that I enjoy doing. And best yet, another neighbor found us barrel caps to prevent more squirrels from having this similar fate. This is the level of community and teamwork I wish to foster in Ward 4. When someone has a squirrel in their proverbial rain barrel, we want to help remove it and help develop a solution to prevent the problem from happening again.
Thank you. All right, and then if you have any other follow-up questions from council members? All right, if you have a closing statement, it's time.
I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to interview this evening. I'd also like to thank Councilperson Cindy Marks for her many years of great service to this community. Thank you also to fellow applicants Pixie, Jason, and Sydney for being here today. It takes courage and dedication to pursue this role, and we are fortunate to have this caliber of candidates here in Ward 4. Finally, thank you to my wife, Elise, for supporting me through this process. I believe my combination of professional and volunteer experience has helped me develop into a seasoned community builder who is uniquely qualified to serve Ward 4. But even if I'm not selected as the next Ward 4 councilperson, I intend to stay firmly involved in this community because doing so is part of my DNA. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. So I just want to once again thank everyone, all the applicants and members of the public for taking time out of your evening to be here with us as well as everyone who reached out to us with their thoughts about the candidates. That helps inform our decision as well. So since none of us live in Ward 4, it's really helpful, particularly to have input from Ward 4 residents on that decision. So I'm going to be making a motion momentarily to go into executive session. Once we do that, for those who may not be familiar, we're going to go into the back room. You are welcome to stay. You do not have to stay. We will probably end up coming back out and making a motion to fill in the resolution with the name. Once that name is entered into the resolution, we'll then refer it back to full council for adoption at the next full council meeting, which would be the Tuesday after MLK Day, most likely. That may not happen, but that is most likely what the plan will be. So it won't affect our decision one way or the other. If you stay, candidates, if you stay or do not stay, you'll be notified either way. Members of the public, you're also welcome to stay or not, whatever you'd like to do. All right, so with that, pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G, I'm going to move to enter executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment of a public official.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all right, we'll do a roll call. So Evans?
Yes.
Keppel, yes. Baker?
Yes.
Bullock? Yes. Streebig?
Yes.
Hamilton Steiner? Yes. All right, we're going to head back, and I'll include in that council staff as well. All right, so we have exited executive session, and I just want to once again thank everyone who applied and participated in the process. We genuinely enjoyed getting to hear from everyone tonight and get to know all the candidates, and we're incredibly impressed with the caliber of candidates coming forward interested in serving in Ward 4. Before I make my motion, does anybody else want to have anything? We can do it afterwards. Vice President Baker.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment that Councilman Bullock always brings up the fact that we should make a motion to have 4 more, seats on council, but we can't do that because the charter says there's only 7. So, thanks.
All right. So with that, I will make a motion to enter the name Matt Bixenstein into Resolution 2025-77.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Vice President Baker.
Yes, and I think there's 2 of us on this stage that have gone through the process and not gotten it, and then tried again. And so I'll let the other person speak for themselves. But congratulations, Matt, and I'll say to the other candidates as well that I've been in your position. But what I would advise you is that we need you involved in Lakewood. And so I know when I didn't get it, I stayed involved. I love this community, and I see the sense of pride and ownership that each of you have for this community, and I really hope that you stay involved and stay engaged, and I'm committing myself to help you do that. So thank you for putting yourself through the process.
Councilman Evans?
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't agree more. This is absolutely not an easy decision. It was great for us to get to know each of you this evening, and I absolutely positively agree that we want to find ways to keep all of you heavily engaged in this community, because I think you all have something really special to bring to us. And we're pretty lucky here in Lakewood that we have an opening like this, and we have 4 candidates. More candidates than that who want the job, and it's that hard for us to pick. It's not going to happen in every community. So just thank you all for your commitment. I hope you'll stay involved, and great job, Matt. Thanks.
Council Member Hamilton Steiner.
Yes, so I am that other council person that Vice President Baker had talked about. I originally had applied for an open Ward 2 position that I did not get. And then I applied again. I came back and applied for the at-large and was appointed that position. So definitely do not give up. Do not take this as a measure of your worth or what you bring to the table, or your capabilities, or even your trajectory. Because I firmly believe what is for you will be for you, and no one can take that from you. And I want all of you to stay involved and stay connected. And I plan on reaching out to each of you directly. And we can do a follow-up, and we can have a meeting, or you could just reach out to me at your earliest convenience, whenever. But I definitely have some ideas of where I would love to see you involved, because your energy, your spirit, your heart, your soul is needed in Lakewood and needed in Ward 4. And so I am committed to helping you stay connected and get better connected. And wherever you would like to go, I want to help you get there as well. So, and thank you again for applying and for everyone that applied.
Thank you, and I'll echo all that as well, that I am both committed to onboarding our new council member and helping the 3 that we interviewed tonight who were not successful to be successful in whatever you want to be doing in the future. These were incredible interviews tonight, and we see a lot of potential. So I definitely want to help you achieve what you want to, and certainly help achieve on behalf of the citizens of Lakewood in the greater community. So we appreciate all of you being willing to serve, and we're truly impressed. So thank you. All right, any further discussion? All right, so I'm going to actually, I don't know if it matters, but I said Matt, so I'm going to amend my motion to say Matthew Bixenstein.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, just so we're official here. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. All right, without objection, we have no further business. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you. So I will move to refer the resolution as amended favorably out of committee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. All right, now, with no objection, no further business to come before the committee, we are adjourned.